All right, everybody, welcome back. Sam's Army summer season week one. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to start with the Premier League season that was. The top five battle ended with a wet fart, which actually feels appropriate. And the fallout for Aston Villa will be painful. And of course, newly crowned European champions continue to give zero Fs about their domestic league. Also, we got halftime will be a Ronnie related weekly what if around the world will be we'll talk about that European champion Tottenham team quickly, plus Champions League and Conference League preview and the MLS minute, and some USMNT roster thoughts. Then stoppage time, Van Tony's best bets, where the overtrain is cooking with thermonuclear gas, and everyone's favorite segment, GOAWs. Now, time to welcome in this week's panel of beauties, starting with Mr. Mikey Fowler, who has not blessed us with any musical suggestions in quite some time. So tell us, Mikey, what's a band that may not have heard of that is somewhere at or near the top of your Spotify at the moment?
Oh man, you gotta. I feel like everyone gets these questions with preparation, and I just get my personal tastes thrown on me. I'm just gonna go to on repeat and be completely honest with you with whatever comes up latest.
That
Um,
works.
I mean, I've already given out 49th in Maine. Um, if you haven't listened to 49th in Maine, please do. Okay, Bruno Pernadas. The song is called Problem Number Six. Please listen to that at your listening.
Okay, all right, just one
Bruno
for us.
Penades.
All right,
Problem number six.
Bruno Fernandez. Okay, Tyler Terrence getting emotionally prepared as we speak for his journey up I-71 to Columbus for the midweek game against Nashville. But we will get our fill of MLS in the minute later on. So for now, it's time for another status update on the greatest tween soccer novel that may possibly ever be written. Where are we at with that? He's on mute. Tyler, you mute.
Damn it! You'd think I'd have that figured out in 2025. I muted, so because I was choosing an Apple, which I'm sure people did not want to listen to on their drive to work.
Appreciate
Um,
that.
I actually started back writing again like a week ago on my way to, or no, this past weekend on my way to Minnesota, and it felt great, and I was flowing. So Tommy is currently in the midst of his sophomore season, has scored like 6 or 7 goals through the first, I think, 5 games, but also got sent off. He's taking out his crush, Rachel Johnson, to a Red Bulls and FC Cincinnati game because he's Tommy Brewster, and the only way that he can properly communicate with women is through soccer. So that's his big idea to sort of like help break him out of his shell. But Rachel's very outgoing and sort of helps bring Tommy, because Tommy's extremely confident on the soccer field. He just has a difficulty talking to women, but he's 16. We're going to cut him a little bit of a break. But great stuff. Also, the divorce, the new girlfriend is coming into play. So there's a lot going on for Tommy Brewster right now. Head is in a bit of a blender, but what's his one escape? The pitch. That's where he's in full control, and that's where he can get his shit done.
Beautiful, just beautiful. I can't wait. I can't wait for this thing to drop. Tommy Brewster, you beautiful bastard. All right, we'll move on to the Premier League. Where the season has now officially come and gone. Congratulations to Liverpool. We've been saying this for at least a month now, but we officially can say it now. The champions of the Premier League. Obviously, thoughts go out to anybody affected by the parade situation, which may or may not come up later. But to the games themselves, the top five battle. I mean, I don't know. It was not exactly titillating, exhilarating stuff. We had Newcastle essentially backing into the Champions League. They lost to Everton at home, no less, 1-0, but still got their Champions League spot. Manchester United, after the very disappointing, heart-wrenching loss to Tottenham in the Europa final, they came back and actually beat Aston Villa, despite having nothing to play for. Beat them 2-0. Obviously, a red card aided and also a goal disallowed aided result. But nevertheless, shout out to United for actually showing up and playing that game. Nottingham Forest lost to Chelsea at home 1-0. And those were pretty much the only games that mattered for the week. So Tyler, any thoughts on the results, the weekend that was?
Yeah, it was kind of a stinker, wasn't it? I mean, there was no game that really like captured your attention or captured the imagination and sort of like what would have been a really like, Forest had come back and drawn the game in like the 80th minute, and then we're pushing for a last minute winner. And to be fair, everything else that needed to happen happened for them. So they could have potentially been in a spot where if they had won that game, they could have been in. The Villa thing is mind-boggling. I actually scored a goal like that in high school where it was much more egregious. The goalkeeper had two hands on it, and I stabbed it out of his hands right in front of the ref, and the ref didn't call it. But I just, yeah, really anticlimactic end to what was a season that was arguably settled 6 weeks ago from all standpoints. And watching Nottingham Forest finish the way that they finished over the last 6 weeks, they're not a Champions League side. Simple as that. Nor
Tommy
Spurs.
was right.
But, yeah.
Tommy was right. Yeah. Nobody cares about top 5.
I mean, I think Aston Villa cared.
Why be top 5? Why be top 5 when you can be bottom 4?
That's right. Okay, 2 things. One, I've heard a lot of discourse about the referee robbery, and I understand it was a bad call, and I understand that went terribly. They were getting smoked with 11 prior to the sending off, and prior to that, they were not up for it at all. We've seen this from Villa since they were knocked out of the Champions League. They have not been moving the ball well. They are not moving positionally. They are not a good side. So I understand that they were aggrieved. They have nobody to be mad at except themselves. I understand that that's ironic coming from an Arsenal fan, but listen, they have to look in the mirror. They were atrocious. Second thing, Isak wants out of Newcastle because that man was trying as hard as he possibly could to not finish top 5 this season. The dream is dead for a lot of people who are in on the Isak sweepstakes. They're in the Champions League. He's most likely going to stay. But in my head, I keep thinking about these narratives that he hasn't shown up for 4 weeks because he really didn't want to be there anymore. So we'll see. I mean, there's still a chance he moves this summer. If you can get 140 or whatever they're going to get for him, you might need to use that to get some depth if you're going to be in the Champions League. So a lot of things to go from here on are more interesting than what happened from here backwards.
That's true. That's true. And I think you actually did a very good job of summing up the situation with Villa. Now, the summer to come is obviously going to be very painful, and there will be some changes that they don't necessarily want to make, but they're going to be forced to make for financial reasons. But the game itself, well put. I mean, basically, like, Villa have nobody to blame, despite getting screwed out of that goal. They really have nobody to blame.
Yeah, I feel bad. I feel bad that happened. But if you look at the snapshot, it probably let up 7 or 8 shots on target by that point. Emmy's still on the pitch. Emmy's a moron. We know this. A lot of things went wrong that weren't that call.
Fair enough. And shout out to United, like I said, for actually showing up to that game.
Was the most shameful thing of the whole weekend the Tottenham post on Twitter?
Which
I didn't see anything.
They lose 4-1 at home and post champions of Europe lose in the final match of the season.
I mean,
disgusting.
I would do that too. You're just leaning into it at this point.
I mean,
the lowest point total
have
to
nothing
ever
else going for us, Mikey. We have nothing else.
The most losses to ever stay up in the Premier League.
and finishing the way we did with a 4-1 loss at home.
-1 goal differential.
It's so appropriate. It's so appropriate that we lost like that at home, to a team that, Brighton's good, but they didn't have anything really to play for.
It's disgusting.
Speaking of nothing to play for, I heard an interesting take today that like it's a real damn shame that Declan Rice decided to go to Arsenal as opposed to a club that wins trophies, and that like he locked himself into this situation where he's just not really going to win anything.
He's more than fine. Plus, you have the 23-year-old young player of the season already in that position. So what do you need him for?
Okay.
Ridiculous award. Giving that out later.
Point. Yeah, young player of the season, 23-year-old, maybe back in like the 50s.
Can we have a clutch player of the season for the Premier League? Who would win that?
Clutch player of the season.
This was Gravenberch's 8th season in the top flight.
He's 23.
In his career, 8th
So?
season.
Mikey's not done talking about the club.
So Lamine Yamal should theoretically win Young Player of the Season in La Liga.
For 6 more years.
For the next 6 years, according to
Yeah, why not? He's going to be 23, by the way, by the end of his contract that he just
it should be like
baseball.
should be like baseball, where if you play a certain number of games, you're no longer a rookie or a young player.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, it doesn't matter.
That's what European soccer and Premier League fans love, is that to be likened to Major League Baseball in America. That's what they love.
All right. Anything else from the games? I mean, I think you summed it up well when you basically said that Nottingham Forest, as much as we love Miss Peaches, they just didn't deserve
Miss Peaches.
That's a dog.
Miss Peaches.
Oh, that's a dog. Yeah, just Peaches. sorry, Peaches. As much as we love Peaches.
Oh my God!
That's a dog.
All right,
that's so good. That might be the funniest thing you've said all season.
I'll get my head
saved it for week 38. Good for you.
Listen, I was rooting for Nottingham Forest to make Champions League, but I agree that you just don't win it. They had every opportunity at home against a team that you're battling it out with. You got to win that game. You got to score.
They were exhausted. Everybody's exhausted. Coming off of last summer, rolling into this season, I think everybody's pooped.
Yeah,
can't argue with that.
Fair enough. Now looking forward, so the financial ramifications for Aston Villa are huge. They're already talking about who they're maybe going to have to sell this summer. I saw Boubacar Kamara, Lucas Digne, Emi Martinez.
To be fair, some of these players they were fine with were probably going to leave anyway, and maybe a little bit ahead of schedule. Like, you have Ian Matson, you can live with that. Emi Martinez needed to go regardless. Leon Bailey, I think, probably needed to go at this point in time. Kamara, you probably could have kept for depth purposes. But, like, as much as this is a dire situation for their balance sheet, I also think that they would have reshuffled this roster and just added more pieces as opposed to just dumping some off and then maybe, going to shop a little bit more thrifty.
For sure, but keep in mind they've already lost Douglas Luiz, they've lost Moussa Diaby, they've lost John Duran. So basically, this whole team is being reshuffled, and what they won't have.
They didn't lose John Duran. John Duran walked.
Fair enough. He's gone though. They will have zero depth. They will have no depth, which is a problem when you are playing in Europe, even if you're not playing in Champions League. So
you guys didn't have any depth, and you still won it. So,
I mean, it's true.
Also, we'll talk about the final at some point, but anyway, I have thoughts.
We'll get there. Anything else from the weekend or the season at all at this point?
Rest in peace to our relegated brothers.
Yep, right back down. I guess it'll be interesting to see if anybody can break that curse. Maybe Leeds.
Only team I really care about going down is Leicester. I like having them in the Premier League.
Yeah, they're a Premier League title-winning team.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the Cups, wrap things up here, give some shout-outs to the people who deserve them for their performances in FPL. So the podcast-wide league winner is Luke McCulloch and Anna Cortez. Shout-out to Luke. You were at or near the top for most of the season, so no spot there. The podcast cup winner is Hardy Kimbrough with his or her team, Nicholas Ventnor, which good one. I like that. Any player and Nicholas Ventnor plays around here. Now on the Discord Cup, we had the winner was Matthew Perry. Shout out to him. If you're not on the Discord, get in the Discord. That's a fair point. But if you're not on I lost my train of thought there. If you're not on the Discord, you need to get in the Discord, and you do that by joining the Patreon. Do it now. Do it immediately. And then perhaps the most anticipated finish of all in the FPL this season, the winner. This isn't the most anticipated part. The winner of our little podcast co-host group was Tommy, who held off a late charge from me. I beat Mikey, who I don't know, neglected or refused. One of the two to change his lineup the last couple weeks. The most important one was the loser, unfortunately. FCTT took home the ignominious winner of the.
Can I say something?
Award.
I feel like Villa. Okay, I feel like Villa. Let me explain something to you. Okay, because I had my free hit chip left, and I told you all that right, like during last episode. Okay, And I go to fix my roster on Friday night. I'm in Minnesota with nothing to do, wallowing in my own just mental filth about the Knicks losing another game. And I go to change it, and it says app needs to update. Please check back in. I go to check it another hour later. App needs to update. Check back in. I wake up early Saturday morning to go change it. App needs to up. I didn't even get a fucking chance to change my team because the app wouldn't fucking let me. I probably should have just gone on the computer and done it, but I was too lazy. Anyway, are you guys gonna choose? Are you guys gonna choose a TikTok dance or what? I just need it to be over with.
Do we get to choose, or I feel like the least
I
we
just
do
have
is...
to choose my own TikTok. I mean, like that doesn't seem. I'm gonna choose the easiest one.
Okay.
I don't know what that
We
means.
should no. We'll put 4 in the Discord and have everyone vote on it.
Yeah, we'll have the Discord vote on this. Yeah, that's a good one.
Don't you want to plug the Discord, Tyler?
Yeah, if you're not on the Discord, do it. You're an idiot.
Well said. Well said. All right, let's check. I just got to see if anybody's talking shit on the chat right now. Which, by the way, to get on the chat, you also got to get in the Patreon to get there. Oh no, here come the excuses from Steve's talk.
Steve, as much as I'm going to make an excuse, okay, I will say, as Mikey pointed out like a month ago, like I only started caring in week 33. We can't do that next time. We simply cannot.
Lesson learned. Lesson learned.
Much like Spurs, we only cared for a month of the season.
Listen, it feels nice. It feels real nice to get trophy winners. We'll be there. We'll get there in a second.
Did your daughters make that sign behind you, by the way?
No, they did. They did not. But yeah, I forgot that. Should have turned it in reverse. Oh well, close enough. Spurs are European champion. I know it really is. It makes more sense backwards like that. Now, before we get to halftime, let's do a quick word from our good friends over at Kick It, the one-stop shop for all your soccer tennis needs. Tyler, what's up with Kick It these days?
Summer months, man, they're here. It's officially here. There's no more fake out anymore in Chicago and in the Midwest. Like the warm days have finally arrived, and you're going to want Kick It. So head to kickit.net, get 10% off of your basic soccer tennis set. It's going to be the game that you're playing all summer. It might even be the game that you're playing for the rest of your life. Who knows? I'm not asking you to sign up and marry Kick It, but I am asking you to simply go on kickit.net and plug in Sam25, get 10% off, and then thank me for the rest of your life. That's it. That's all I'm asking.
There you go. Easy peasy.
It's not a lot.
Man, this definitely has the permanence of marriage on the mind there, as we can see. But we will head to halftime, where our weekly What If is brought to us by none other than Cristiano Ronaldo and Gianni Infantino. So over the weekend, Al Nassr they won their game, but it didn't matter because they had already fallen into second place in the Saudi League. So they lost. Okay, well, so it didn't matter. They didn't win the Saudi League yet again. And Ronnie, in his eloquence and in his way with words, posted a very, well, not even that cryptic, honestly, tweet. Said, "This chapter is over. The story, ? Still being written. Grateful to all." So pretty clear, his time with Al Nassr perhaps has come to an end. And then at the same time, we actually had Gianni Infantino, who is in full, by the way, Club World Cup promotion mode at this point, making sure, or at least hoping, that somebody's actually going to show up and watch these games. He went on with speed that the guy.
Really? Wait, so Ronaldo might play the Club World Cup? Yeah, Cristiano Ronaldo might play the Club World Cup. Yeah, there are discussions with some clubs. So if any club is watching and is interested in hiring Ronaldo for the Club World Cup, who knows?
So there you go. Infantino, acting as Ronnie's agent, essentially, went on Speed's, I don't know, YouTube channel or whatever, and said Ronnie is basically out there ready to be hired if somebody wants to bring him in for the Club World Cup.
Yeah, because we all know that every sporting director and technical director in the Club World Cup is watching Speed's YouTube channel.
Of course not. But that was Infantino advertising to the world that maybe Ronnie's going to be at the Club World Cup, so maybe you guys should get a little more excited. At least that's my take from that. But more importantly, the question is, in this weekly What If hypothetical, where, if you could choose, where would Ronaldo play next, Tyler?
Somewhere in the Eastern Conference in MLS.
Is he allowed in?
I was gonna say, like, do we have any insight on
So
what
the goal is to
situation
get
is?
60-something goals, right?
Well, if Thomas
For
Partey was
1,000?
allowed to play in Spain, then
Well, one was found guilty, I think.
Ronnie was
I don't
not
know
found
what the
guilty.
I don't know what the situation is definitively.
Yeah,
Maybe
I don't
somebody
think
can-
anybody does.
if
Everything
I
online.
speak, if I speak, he needs what, 60-something goals is the target?
For what, 1,000 or whatever?
1,000, yeah, that's what he needs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he wants to do that. I also
He's
think
not
that
doing
the
it in South America.
World Cup 2026 is.
Don't go
probably-
anywhere near the Vancouver Whitecaps. Don't you dare taint the best thing to ever happen
Well,
to
no,
soccer.
I was gonna give two options, some real ones. He could go home to Sporting. I would actually like to see that. They're obviously the best team in Portugal. They're gonna have a ton of money after Gyökeres leaves, and they'll be able to, replace a couple goals with him. They will have games where they're up 4-0. The other one, Sam, right up your alley. If he's just looking to get to 60 goals, just do half a year in Australia.
Oh,
Ooh,
wow.
okay.
Great shout.
I like that. I like that shout a lot. Now back to the Sporting Lisbon shout though. If you were a Lisbon fan, would you want him on that
Sure.
team? Really?
Well,
Yeah, he's
if
still
you're-
Ronaldo. He's your boy.
Yeah. That's
I know
about the
he's-
only club that I think would actually want him.
I know he's your boy,
Who's
but
who's
like,
competitive? Like if I'm an MLS sporting director, outside of ticket sales for like true team performance, I don't go near it with a 10-foot pole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Olivier Giroud, who's 3 or 4 years younger, fucked up LAFC. So that's how I feel about that.
Ronnie's in a very interesting position right now because he still thinks that he is world class. Whether he is or not, probably
He's not. He's clearly not.
He's clearly not. But
What a way to frame that.
He thinks he is, and he comes with an ego that is world class, whether his skills are or not. I don't know. If I were a Lisbon fan, I don't think I'd want him on that team. I think that I just don't think that he fits the vibe of a team like that. Or really, honestly, any team. I don't know where Ronnie could
He
go.
can't go from Saudi Arabia to Lisbon.
Who's playing in Champions League? By the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think it goes that way. I think the reasonable place to go is MLS from like a playing standpoint. But again, I wouldn't go near it.
Now, just to quickly touch on the legal issues, he has not been back to the U.S. since like whatever that situation happened. Last I heard, he had paid a settlement to.
This is all alleged.
Of course.
But he could have been extradited theoretically. It's not like he's been in countries that like there's no extradition treaties with.
I know. I don't understand what the situation.
Oh, I
is.
like that one, John. What would you take him? How about Spurs?
No. We got the mentality. We're mentality monsters right now, coming off a European championship.
Oh boy, you guys are many things, but don't you dare.
We do not need a CR7
Mentality
in our locker
monsters.
room at the moment. Oh, goodness gracious. All right, we'll move on to around the world because we got a lot to talk about here. A lot of different topics. We're going to start with the European champions themselves and the European Championship that was Europa final. I mean, it makes so much sense. First of all, for the 17th and 16th place team at the time of the Premier League to come into this game, obviously this game was going to be ugly as just, the ugliest game in the history of the world. We won with pretty much 0 shots on goal, which is incredible.
It's insane they gave that to Brennan Johnson, by the way.
I don't know how they did. That was very clearly off Luke Shaw. I don't know how they gave that to him. But, we did what people said Ange couldn't do, and we actually sort of parked the bus and played some defense. So, in a weird way, it was sort of a vindication for Ange. But the game itself was just 90 or basically 100 minutes of,
Dog shit.
Of absolute crap. Yeah,
you were right about one thing. That was the Sun Legacy game. That is how I will remember him.
Well, that's not. Well, first of all, you are the world's largest hater of Youngmin Son. So that makes total sense. But
No,
I
he's
was
just the
actually
hater. He's the hater of anybody who's going to lift a European trophy. That's what he is.
Jealousy,
Misogynist
stinky
alert.
I don't understand this bit. Can you explain the bit? This is the second
Yeah,
time.
anybody who sings
Arsenal.
"Champions of Europe, You'll Never Sing That" is a misogynist who ignores the women's
Since
game.
Arsenal just beat Barcelona in the
Oh my
Women's
God.
Champions League game. Fair point. Fair point. It's a good defense, Mikey.
Wow,
I'll
didn't
give
know
you
you
that.
were a misogynist, Tyler.
It's a good defense. I'll give you that.
Well, speaking of being a misogynist, I was in the Anfield club shop, absolutely blitzed out of my mind, shopping when I was over there last winter, and I wanted to get a sweatshirt for my fiance Shannon, and I saw one that was like 25 quid on the first floor, red, had the Liverpool logo on it. It was brilliant. I was like, wow, this is stupefyingly cheap. Like, what is going on? Stuffed it away in the bag, and then get home back to Cincinnati and gift it to Shannon. And she goes, "Why did you get me a Liverpool women's hoodie?" And I was like, I literally had no idea that this is. And she's like, "I appreciate the fact that like you think that I would want a women's one. That was 100% meant to be the men's club." So anyway,
I love that move.
Yeah,
that was a smart move on your part.
I'm pro female even when I'm not trying to be.
There we go. Take that, Mikey. Anything else on Europa? I mean, this was, I'll be honest, this was awesome. I mean, it sucked. This season was terrible in so many ways and just for so many reasons. But the way that it came together with a Europa League final or a Europa League title is just, it's insane. Like, we're talking all this shit. You guys are talking all this shit about Tottenham, like, for all season. And granted, rightly so. We were terrible. We were awful. We were embarrassing. And yet we come out with a better season than pretty much everybody in the league. I mean, Liverpool accepted, perhaps.
Come on.
You think you had a better? You think you had a better season than
more successful?
No, because Chelsea will make Champions League and they'll probably win a European trophy as well. They'll have had a better season than you.
Yes, if they win the
final.
And
most teams didn't lose 22 games in the league.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do this.
European champions and playing in Champions League.
22 league losses.
Oh, it feels nice. It feels nice.
Hey, congratulations. The first season, the Champions League third place teams have never dropped down. It was a perfect opportunity.
I completely agree. I wanted to bring that up. Like the worst Europa League possible. What you ended up doing was winning a season of a bunch of lesser than Premier League, like right where you should be in terms of like 6th, 7th, and 8th place teams in across Europe. That's what you won. You won the losers tournament, and somebody made the decision to put the losers tournament into the fucking winners tournament. Congratulations. Congratulations. I hope you guys finish squarely in 13th and you get absolutely blitzed in your 8 group phase games of Champions League. Absolutely blitzed. Your club is so far off the mark. It's not, like arguably more so than Manchester United at this point in time.
This is going to end up being the FA Cup that Ten Hag won that fucks you over for another 3 years. Patches over the holes.
Because we keep
Benjamin?
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
I don't know if our holes have been patched over. I don't know if any holes have been patched over. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Ange at this point. I kind of
there's no option. He stays. There's no choice.
Another few months. Yeah, but we got to have a good summer. And other than that, I don't know. You guys are doing a lot of whining over there for
not whining
in Europe, which
champions. I don't think I've ever heard a Europa League champion say we're champions
of Europe is insane.
That's a wild thing to say. It's genuinely insane.
I mean it when I said that. You are the 37th best team in Europe this year.
Also,
that's what that trophy means this time.
Also, European champions, my friend.
You beat Bodo Glimt in a semi.
And Frankfurt in the quarter.
Yeah, really strong Frankfurt team. Yeah. Good for you.
Manchester United in the final.
Just saying.
Listen.
By the way, I mean, like
how
fitting was it that everybody was so fucking excited for this game? Like I was off my tits excited for this game. Like I have not gotten up for something like that in a long, long time. And 20 minutes in, I was like, why did I get excited for this? Why was I so pumped up? It's like entering any sort of Jets week 1. That's how I felt about that game. It's like, why am I getting so excited about something I know is going to be utter dog shit? That game was atrocious. Both teams should be embarrassed. And UEFA should be embarrassed for allowing either one of them to participate in Champions League.
You guys are so mad about that. We won this.
I didn't expect Tyler to be on my side so much.
I'm not mad. I'm just sort of like, yeah, like these two teams are they suck something fierce. Like I
want my time back.
Yeah, like I stopped watching in like the 70th minute. I was just on my phone scrolling. It felt like a Bournemouth Southampton game on a fucking Tuesday. Like it was atrocious. I would have rather watched Bournemouth than Southampton.
I mean, nobody. Listen, if you turned into that game thinking you were going to get some high quality soccer,
it could have been the Lyon game. It could have been. Why couldn't it be 5-4 and both defensive units just collapse in shambles?
Didn't have a midfield. Because we didn't have a midfield. So
whose fault is that?
Well, injuries.
Oh, okay, big Ange.
Champions of Europe, boys and girls, bow down. All right, now we'll head to the preview segment. Now that we're done pillaring my beautiful trophy-winning Spurs team. Champions League is on Saturday. We got PSG and Inter Nacional facing off for the big one, the actual champions of Europe. Mikey, what are your thoughts on this one?
Man, this is going to be contrasting styles, teams that have been here but not gotten over the hump, players that have extreme personality. Like this has got it all. I think it'll be very cagey just by Inter's nature and an Italian team in a final type shit. PSG is the team of the tournament thus far. I don't think anybody can argue that. Donnarumma probably player of the tournament, for being honest. So it's a 1-0 or a 1-1 extra time situation, and I think PSG win, but I am going to be rooting for Inter.
All right, Tyler?
I agree. I think cagey is the right word. Unfortunately, PSG isn't as open and as relentless in what they want to do in terms of high line and just willingness to expose themselves stark naked defensively every time that they have the ball. And with that, I think that it could make for a much slower game than we're used to when seeing this Inter team over the last 2 legs against Barcelona. Don't think it's going to be a bad game, just a much more tactically inclined game. But could open up. If PSG get the first goal, I think you could be in for a real treat. But if Inter do for whatever reason, then it could be a lot of Vitinha on the ball trying to pick his way through.
Agreed. And I think the decision Enrique has here is whether to play this as a 120-minute tie or a 90-minute tie. With what he does with Doué and Barcola, I'm really excited to see what he does in terms of who he decides to start. Obviously read a lot into PSG. I think if you don't know Luis Enrique's story with his child and everything, like this is the year with Mbappe leaving, it's all lined up. I fear Inter is fighting against what feels like a gravitational pull towards a Paris title.
Yeah, it's a good point on Luis Enrique. I mean, obviously people have their sort of ingrained thoughts on PSG.
He's the man. He's the fucking man.
Became what they are right now. But man, if you know Luis Enrique's backstory, it's tough not to root for him. That's for damn sure. All right, so that's Saturday. Before that, we got Wednesday's Conference League final pitting Chelsea.
Oh my God,
Real Betis. Is anybody actually going to watch this game?
I'll watch it just for Anthony and the Manchester United trolling. Yeah.
That's
I love you. I have a man crush on Isco, so I'm gonna have to watch.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about Manchester United. We haven't mentioned Anthony. We haven't mentioned McTominay. Everybody who got out of there and succeeded.
Lukaku. Yep.
Lukaku, another one. Yeah, I'm excited for the Conference League final. It should be a good game.
It's 2 better teams than the Europa League final, which
for
is
sure.
Great.
100,000%.
You can only beat the teams in front of you, boys and girls. I'm not going to apologize for being European champion.
They should make the Conference League winner and the Europa League winner play to get in the Champions League.
European other cup winners cup.
European Charity Shield.
All right, let's move on. Now, before we get to the MLS Minute, quickly, while we're still on Europe here, any thoughts on Conte and Napoli and the Serie A title, or I got to give a quick shout out. Okay, Tyler, you go. Oh, no. Tyler wants a quick.
I think it's hilarious
that
that Pedro Rodriguez decided Serie A.
Why?
Scored twice for Lazio to tie Inter to give the points to to give the lead to Napoli in the second to last match week. It's pretty unbelievable when you think about it.
That was, I kind of forgot about the week before this, but yeah, this game on Friday. So they played dueling games on Friday, but actually the championship was decided the week before, as you said, by Pedro.
Mm-hmm.
And Conte, just that guy everywhere he goes, other than Spurs, he's a winner. Tottenham, nobody. Listen, Big Ange. Tyler puts his headset back on, and I'm already talking about Big Ange. But what I was trying to do is give Antonio Conte a little bit of credit for winning everywhere he goes, at least in Serie A. Let's see what else. Sunderland, got to give a shout out to Sunderland for winning the playoff final.
While there is a wanker,
I don't know how they won that game. They were getting battered pretty much the entire time. They came up with 2 goals out of absolutely nothing, including one 4 minutes into stoppage time, which, by the way, comes one game after their second leg semifinal, which they won 2 minutes in, at past the 120 minutes. So just incredible run there by Sunderland, who I was 100% rooting for. So full disclosure, I'm excited for them to be back. I don't know if, listening to some of the Sunderland fans and reading sort of some of the things they've written, they might be moving up like a little sooner than they were expecting. Which might be a little bit of a problem, but who cares? We're getting 2 proper time weird derbies next season. It's been a while, so that would be great. Shout out the Black Cats, though. Just an incredible run, and my guy Declan Stave and all his crazy Sunderland buddies. Now, anything else before we get to the MLS Minute? No? All right. Well, time to give us the hit it and quit it MLS Minute. Mr. Minuteman yourself. Hit us.
Are we doing double match day here?
No.
Oh, do it whatever you want. Whatever you
No.
feel comfortable.
I'm sorry. It was US Open Cup, but I had 2 US Open Cup sides. Never mind. We're fine. Okay. Just match day 15 alone. All right, let's start in the Pacific Northwest. The Seattle Sounders and FC Dallas, 2 playoff teams who played against each other in the first round a couple of years ago, squared off in what was a relatively innocuous game. Seattle won it by a score of 1-0, and quietly, again, with all the injuries that they have, Seattle Sounders putting together a nice start first half of the season. Let's head over to Southern California in a battle between San Diego FC and LA Galaxy. And despite the scoreline, that was not the main topic after this game. Some violence between fans breaking out. Not the first time that San Diego has been involved in some supporters getting a little bit too frisky and a little bit too handsy following matches. But they end up getting the win by a score of 2-1, a late game winner from Chucky Lozano. The game was 1-1 for a little bit. Lozano scored the game-winning goal. LA Galaxy still searching for their first win in 15 games to start the season, despite the fact that Greg Vanney got a contract extension last week. Let's go to our nation's capital, where DC United fall to Rebels by a score of 2-0. But wait for it, they did post that they sold over 6,000 hot dogs or whatever it was after the game, instead of tweeting out what the final score was. So congratulations to DC for selling that many throat missiles on a night where you got pumped yourself. All right, let's go over to Bank of America Stadium between Charlotte and Columbus, where the Columbus Crew, don't look now, but they're winless in their last 4. Now, if you're a Columbus fan, don't worry. Don't pay any mind to this. Wilfred Nancy goes through one of these stretches this season, and they come out on the other side, and they just start to throttle everybody in sight. Charlotte win it 3-2 at the Bank. Very uncharacteristic conceded goals from Wilfred Nancy's group, but Wilfred Zaha with one of the passes of the season on the second goal for Charlotte FC. Ajiman was on the scorebook not once but twice. All right, let's head over to north of the border in Montreal, where in Quebec, LAFC and CF Montreal played to a 2-2 draw. Tough road trip for LAFC going to Stade Saputo like that, basically on the other side of the world. And Montreal certainly didn't make it a happy place to go and visit. 2-2 is the final score. Philadelphia and Inter Miami, arguably the game of the match day, and it did not disappoint. Talasco Segovia with the game-tying goal in stoppage time. Philadelphia and Inter Miami played to a 3-3 draw, 6-goal split right down the middle. If you're a big fan of the over, this is a big win for you. Orlando City and Portland in Orlando, and Oscar Pareja's side continue to win. They continue to impress and quietly have not lost a game since week 3 in Major League Soccer play. they're a nice little dark horse to sprinkle a couple of shekels on right now to win MLS Cup. I certainly like that bet for Mikey Fowler, who's not going to shy away from something like that. Meanwhile, also north of the border, this time in Toronto, Nashville SC getting it done again. Another team that's is unbeaten in their last 8 games, including U.S. Open Cup. They win it by a score of 2-1. Sam Surridge with the brace. Hani Mukhtar was brilliant. Sean Johnson, though, had some unreal saves, and the goalkeeping situation for the U.S. men's national team is wide open after the news coming out that Patrick Schulte is going to be out for Gold Cup, but Nashville win it 2-1. Meanwhile, at Allianz Field, where your boy was, 1-1 draw between Austin and Minnesota. Pretty disappointing for Minnesota, but a great draw for Austin, who have now bounced back to draw 2 sides that they got absolutely nuked by a couple of weeks ago. They draw Austin, and then they also draw Vancouver in back-to-back games. Sporting Kansas City and New England play another shootout. Another big fan of the over here. Sporting Kansas City 3, New England 3-6 goal split right down the middle at Children's Mercy Park. Meanwhile, Colorado Rapids win at 1-0 over St. Louis City, and the struggles for St. Louis continue to get more and more real. God help them, but I can't imagine a divine intervention is going to help anything with that club at the moment. Meanwhile, Real Salt Lake, we're up 2-0 on the Vancouver Whitecaps. And if you're not putting live bullets on Vancouver being down right now, moneyline style, like you did for Manchester City for the past 7 years, except for this season, then what are you doing with your life? Vancouver Whitecaps 3, Real Salt Lake 2. Brian White at the brace, Pedro Vite with the game-winning goal. Shout out to our boy Mayan, and he's just, Vancouver, top of the Supporters Shield, CONCACAF Champions Cup final coming up. By the way, that is a bigger deal than whatever other European finals going on that Sam clearly doesn't care about because he's a European champion. You'll never sing that. And then Mike is going to call you a misogynist. Anyway, Northern California, San Jose Earthquakes 3, Houston Dynamo 3, another shootout. There were a lot of goals, but obviously my game didn't really have any of them because that's what's going on recently with my luck of the draw. Meanwhile, on the Big Apple on Sunday, in the prelude to Sunday Night Soccer, New York City went down by a score of 1-0 thanks to a good goal from Philip Zinkernagel. That was actually a really, really clean buildup from Chicago. But then NYCFC scored 3 unanswered. Jay Davila and Brian Gutierrez both get sent off. Guti got sent off first with just a flailing elbow heading into a challenge. And then Davila got sent off in the second half. And just a really bad look for Greg Berhalter on the road against the New York City side that they just constantly struggle against on the road. They don't like playing on baseball fields, but who does? Am I right? Meanwhile, Mercedes-Benz Stadium in the final game of the match day, number 16, Atlanta United 4, FC Cincinnati 2. Prayers up to our boy Nick Haglin, who caught another brutal injury. Really weird one where he was basically trying to protect somebody on his team who had the ball. It was a 50-50 ball. Haglin went to go step in and was waiting for Emmanuel Latte-Lat to come and potentially run into him, which he did. But Latte-Lat didn't hold back, and he kind of followed through and threw like basically an elbow into the side of Nick Haglin. It would turn out that Haglin had to go to the hospital. He went to Emory Hospital in nearby Atlanta, and he had a collapsed lung and a broken rib, which of course was the reason for the collapsed lung. So he's in the hospital. Apparently he's in good spirits, but really weird. And Nick Haglin cannot catch a break. He's been suffering back-to-back season-ending injuries. He finally just got fit. He was playing some really good soccer, but Atlanta win it by a score of 4-2. So thoughts with Nick Haglin. Hopefully he'll be back on the field, but I don't know what the procedure is for a collapsed lung. They reinflated it, which apparently is a thing that you do. No, it's not. We're not talking about balloons at a kid's birthday party. But anyway, I digress with all my medical predictions aside. That's match day 15.
Well done. That situation with San Diego FC, like, it's great that they're coming in with these fans that obviously have passion and all that, but like, you got to get your security situation figured out because it's becoming a trend at this point. All right, we will finish up the Round the World segment with some quick thoughts on the U.S. men's national team roster, which Pochettino just dropped ahead of the Gold Cup. And so, the people who are there, I'll give you the quick rundown. Goalkeepers, we've got Matty Freeze, Patrick Schulte, Zach Steffen, and Matt Turner. Defenders, Matt Arfston, Serginho Dest, Alexander Freeman, DeJuan Jones, Mark McKenzie, Tim Ream, Chris Richards, Miles Robinson. Midfielders, we got Tyler Adams, Sebastian Berhalter, who Tyler's predicted that earlier, Johnny Cardoso, Luca De La Torre, Diego Luna, Jack McGlynn, Malik Tillman, and Sean Zawadzki. And then forwards, Brendan Aronson, Patrick Ajimang, Fuller and Balogun, Damian Downs, Quinn Sullivan, Brian White, and Haji Wright. But the talk of the roster was not who is on the roster. It was who is not there. The big names, and there are a lot of them, unfortunately, the big names were missing Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie, Timothy Weah, Gio Reyna, Yunus Musa, Anthony Robinson, Josh Sargent. I mean, there are some locked on starters here. Obviously, who else? Tanner Tessman, Alex Ndejas, Joe Scally, Paxton Aronson, the other Aronson, Cameron Carter Vickers, and Austin Trusty, and there's other ones as well. But the one that obviously everybody was focused on was Christian Pulisic. He's been our captain for years, and the reason for him not being there was what kind of got some people a little exercised. Basically it's he's carrying some injuries, wants to get healthy, and it's essentially load management. So Tyler, what are your thoughts on this?
I had the pleasure of working alongside U.S. men's national team great and U.S. Soccer Hall of Famer Marcelo Balboa this weekend. So I got to pick his brain on our 25-minute drive over to the stadium on Saturday. And, if he, who clearly, answered every single call that he had, doesn't feel some type of way about it, which he doesn't. And he was quick to bring up a couple of different things. Number one is that two of your all-time favorites, and I'm talking to you as our audience, like Tim Howard and Landon Donovan both took sabbaticals at one point in time during the U.S. men's national team career, like full-on sabbatical where they just didn't play. Landon Donovan before the 18 World Cup, and he ended up not making the roster and was
14,
upset at
14 World
14,
Cup.
sorry, for the 14 World Cup and didn't end up making the roster. And then Tim Howard also took one as well. So he basically was just saying how it's sensitive right now because of how the team's doing in the form and everything like that. And I agree with that. But the other thing we have to keep in mind too is that, and this is why I'm not getting as bent out of shape about it as some other people are, is that the stage was set a long time ago and the order of operations was set a long time ago under Greg with the implementation of Nations League, that you send your A squad to Nations League and you send your B or C squad to Gold Cup. Now, I get it. This is our last tournament before World Cup, and that's going to certainly change things a little bit. However, these guys are still human beings and they're still dealing with injuries from what has been a long and arduous European season. So I'm not nearly as bent out of shape about it as other people are, because at the end of the day, this has been how it's been for several Gold Cups now, going back to 2021 when Nations League was implemented, or 2019 when Nations League was implemented, right? Nations League is in the middle of the European calendar. The semifinal and the final is in March. Gold Cup is literally during these guys' vacation. It makes sense for them to skip out on this. It does. It just simply does. And who on earth? And you don't remember these sabbaticals from the likes of Landon Donovan and Tim Howard, because who remembers sabbaticals? You only remember their time when they were actually on the field, and the only thing you're going to remember is Christian Pulisic's time on the field during the World Cup. So, like, and even if we don't perform well and he doesn't perform well, nobody's going to look back at the fact that he didn't play in Gold Cup and be like, this is why they didn't play well or why he didn't play well. Or at least you shouldn't. And if you do, then you got some issues. You got to unclutch the pearls. But that's how I feel.
There's a lot of context that needs to be taken into consideration. And one of the reasons people are so sort of bent out of shape about Pulisic missing this is because of the way we played in Nations League, where we lost to Panama and we lost to Canada. So, it was a tough sort of segue coming into this roster. My thoughts are, I would love to see him play, and I would love to see him, be out there and compete and everything. But if there's one person, in the U.S. soccer program right now who I feel like maybe we just can't question, like his sort of willingness, his, interest, whatever, in playing for the flag and playing for the country, playing for this team, it's Christian Pulisic. Like, he's been out there, playing for some good teams, playing for some bad teams. But he has been out there busting his ass, to the best of his abilities, which are incredible, from day one. So, if he feels like he needs a little time to rest up and get healthy, remember, this is a guy that had, those injury after injury after injury that kept him out for, the I don't know, most of his time with Chelsea. So, if he feels like he needs this time off, I'm not going to hold it against him. And you're right that, like, people are going to ultimately remember the games and the instances that he did play, not the ones he didn't. I will say people do remember the Landon Donovan sabbatical, because that did have sort of an impact on him playing in the World Cup. Tim Howard, I think you're dead on. People totally forgot that he, took some time away from the team. So I'm willing to give Christian Pulisic just basically the benefit of the doubt, and I've slightly biased in how much I sort of just am a fan of his, but I'm willing to not whatever throw mean words at him. But I understand where a lot of the fans are coming from. Right, we're at this point where it's like this is when we need to start sort of gearing up, getting people on board the bandwagon with this team, and we're going to be missing half of the starters. So that stinks. It gives, there are silver linings. It gives opportunities for people like Malik Tillman and Johnny Cardoso and guys to step up and maybe really lock in their spot on the team. But it stinks. It stinks for getting casuals interested in this team and where we're going. And it stinks because, they only have a certain number of games to play together before the World Cup. And now we're missing basically the only live bullets action that they have. So that sucks. Anything else? Mikey, I know you love national team.
What were you guys talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
All right, we'll move on. All right. Now, before we get to stoppage time, quick message from our good friends over at Arc Designs, the worldwide, or at least United States wide leaders in 3D engraving. Tyler, what do we got to know about Arc Designs?
What we got to know is, unfortunately, this partnership is coming to an end very soon, and this is not just simply to try to pump up the numbers. I'm just letting you know the 10% discount that you can use on arcdesigns.com for the 3D laser engraved coasters and calendars and tables and everything like that is going to go away. We've loved our partnership with Arc Designs. They're family run and owned and operated out of Loveland, Ohio. Small little town, small little piece of heaven that I like to call home. And unfortunately, it is coming to an end. So head to arcdesigns.com, ARCKdesigns.com. Get 10% off of your order. We are also going to send the winner of the Sam's Army Discord Cup two of their choosing as far as the coasters are concerned. But again, this is coming to an end. We hate that, but we love them, and we just want you guys to be able to take advantage of it. So Sam25 is going to get you that 10% off of the entirety of the order. So if you want to go early Christmas shopping, which I'm not going to blame any of you Type A planners out there to just get out in front of that right now. So head over to arcdesigns.com.
Well done as always. Yes, that is the perfect gift, whether it be for birthdays or Father's Day or just Thursday. Just go get some Arc Designs. All right, we will move on to stoppage time, where we got to start with Ivan Toney's best bets and the Overtrain, with a shout out to the hat, which was back last week. The Overtrain went 5-0. We are cooking. We are so hot. Let's keep it going. So this is the Overtrain 5-a-side picks. Remember, Wednesday through Sunday, one a day. These games are all going over. We are digging deep now with the European season coming to a close, but we'll go get some money anyway. Wednesday, we are going to Copa Libertadores, where Nacional of Uruguay is playing Atletico Nacional of Colombia. Thursday, we're going to the Danish Cup final. Copenhagen is playing Silkeborg. Friday, we're going to Turkey. The Super League, Kasim Pasha is hosting Göztepe. Saturday, my beloved Chicago Fire. They've been heroes of the Overtrain lately. They are visiting Orlando City on Saturday, and that is absolutely going to go over. Finally, Sunday, we're going to Iceland in the Besta Dieldin, where Valur is hosting Fram Reykjavik, and that game might have 12 goals. There you go. Wednesday through Sunday, Overtrain, 5-a-side. Who's up next? Tyler, you good to go? Hit us.
Good to go. MLS Wednesday slate. So you've got a draw between Cincinnati and FC Dallas, three-legged parlay. Then you've got draw between Atlanta United and Orlando City, and you've got Columbus, a pissed-off Columbus coming off of a loss against Charlotte and winless in their last four, beating BJ Callahan and Nashville at home. And that's going to get you plus 23.57. You know what? I'm going to change that. Nashville is going to win this game. They're not out of the woods yet. They got to sink a little bit deeper, Columbus. So instead, it's going to be plus 52.23. So $5 to win 266. I just gave you your entire account for the rest of the NBA playoffs. You're welcome.
There you go. Casual 52-23 parlay, as you will, as Tyler will. All right, Mikey. By the way, we got to brand that with some sort of long shot branding name
I know.
for your weekly parlay. Mikey, what do you got for us?
Three guys Wednesday night all do a bounce back. Their teams are scoring goals and they didn't contribute. One of them did, but the other two did not. Carlos Heel to score or assist against DC United, Evander to score or assist at home against FC Dallas, and Espinosa to score or assist against the worst team in MLS.
Please throw Lucho Acosta in there. There's no way he's not going to be involved in a goal for Dallas in that game.
I love it. We'll put that fourth one on there. Right now you're 8.5, 860 to 1. I'm assuming you'll get to about 11, 12 to 1.
Good.
With the
now we're talking.
Well done. You gotta have a comma in the odds for Tyler to even get interested. Okay, let's head to everybody's favorite segment, GOAWs, which Mikey's at the head of the list for loving this segment now that he knows what it means. Why don't you go first? Why don't you lead off here, Mikey?
I'm not going to do my classic favorites thing that I usually do where I had a good time with it. I'm going to give it to Alejandro Garnacho. I love irrational confidence guys. I like guys who think they're better than they are. Hours after being told publicly in the locker room that he's not good enough to play for the 16th best team in the Premier League who just lost to Spurs in a title game, he called his agent and said, "Get me to Real Madrid." And the news that came out was Alejandro Garnacho has offered himself to Real Madrid. And I fucking love that. Good for him. That's incredible shit. So got to give him a go this week for that. It's amazing.
I mean, there's
a left winger, by the way, a left winger wanting to go play at Madrid.
I mean, similar vibes for Rashford saying, "Yeah, I got to go to Barcelona next."
It's unbelievable. I love these guys.
At least Barcelona, Rashford did sort of.
Rashford's going to go to Barcelona.
I know he did sort of prove himself at Aston Villa. By the way, another player who just left Manchester United and blossomed. Anyway, Tyler, what do you got for us GOAWs wise here?
Not really a GOAT, but just more so of a commentary, and I guess he is the GOAT because he was DJing the Liverpool parade. I did not know Calvin Harris was Scottish, and that makes him even cooler. So again, like not really a GOAT type situation, but pretty dope that, he and Andy Robertson are tight, and then Verge ended up organizing the entire thing, and Verge's aura on the bus was pretty awesome.
Big Scotland week.
Yeah.
McTominay smoking a cig on the bus. I love those guys.
Talk about aura. Jesus. It's not holding back.
I love that.
Oh, yes.
And then Allison saying that he's sick of celebrating and then is basically humping the crossbar at Anfield after the game. So, yeah, just shout out Liverpool Football Club.
Scenes in Liverpool.
Florian Wirtz. That's all I got to say.
A Brazilian sick of celebrating doesn't make a lot of sense lately.
All right, I'll close it up with a quick shout out to our guys over at Arminia Bielefeld, who will be the GOAWs this week. They did not bring home the DFB Pokal Cup. They lost to Stuttgart, but they made it a game. They went down 4-0, and they were absolutely getting battered, but they bounced back and showed the heart that you knew that they would. They scored some 2 goals at the end. So went well over on some of our ladder bets, but more importantly, good show by them. That was an incredible season. They'd already earned promotion back to the second league, the second Bundesliga, and making it to a cup final and giving Stuttgart a good run. That was just a hell of a run by our guys Mail Corboj and Isaiah Young. So best of luck to them in Bundesliga 2 next season. That's all we got this week, guys. Thank you, guys and girls, not misogynist. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Shout out to the champions of Europe, the only one that can say that at the moment for another day or two.
Misogynist.
That's a fair point. Good shout. Oh, damn it, Arsenal. Of course they had to win that and ruin my damn joke. But Mikey, Tyler, thank you guys for hopping on. Tommy and Mitch will be back soon. Everybody in the chat, you guys are beautiful. I love each and every one of you, and we will see you again in a week. Cheers.